Dr. Ben Edwards, thank you so much for joining us at Worldview Wellness.
You're welcome, Ty. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
You are the founder of Veritas Medical Healthy Community. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Veritas and what it does?
Well, I'll try to keep it brief because this can turn into a 2-hour conversation. But basically, we're an integrative medical clinic, which means we integrate various modalities, healing modalities from really around the world, as opposed to just the allopathic, conventional, pharmaceutical-based approach to medicine. So I was trained conventionally as a family practitioner, and then I practiced conventionally in a small town south of Lubbock, Texas, a little town called Post. I was the only physician in the county there, did that for about 7 years. And then I was introduced to integrative medicine and was amazed by the results, which in a nutshell, as we know, inflammation is a common denominator of all chronic disease, from cancer to heart disease to Alzheimer's to autoimmune, all the metabolic syndrome diseases, all diseases. Inflammation is the root cause. But it's diet and lifestyle that are the root cause of inflammatory processes. And we're not taught about diet and lifestyle things in medical school. So therefore, the only option we're left with is to treat the symptom. High blood pressure is a symptom of inflammation. High blood sugar is a symptom of inflammation. Memory loss and brain fog is a symptom of inflammation. And some of the ultimate symptoms are tumors. So if the very root cause of these things is diet and lifestyle, we really need to address those things, not just treat and manage the symptoms. So we're taught in medical school to just manage asthma, manage hypertension, manage your diabetes, manage the symptoms. That's like managing the smoke from a fire instead of dealing with the fire. So once I learned that you could deal with the fire, but it was really all about educating the patient, because the patient has to do the work to deal with the fire. Doctors can only really treat symptoms. And other than that, doctors can teach you and try to connect these dots for you so that you're motivated to go deal with the stress, the sitting, the smoking, the sugar, all those S's that are the diet and lifestyle factors that drive disease. So I left that old practice and started Veritas, which is Latin for truth. Once I learned this, my wife and I just thought, this is amazing. People actually get well in this model of dealing with root causes.
Helped me to see that just changing that diet was the answer, not adding more medicine. It's a life change, and that's what I've done. I've changed my lifestyle.
Veritas Medical was established in about 2012. So we've been doing this for almost 10 years, I guess. And we have 3 clinics now: Lubbock, Abilene, and San Angelo, Texas. And again, our main goal is to teach people the diet and lifestyle, how to steward their health through diet and lifestyle modification. That being said, some people are so sick, so inflamed, and they have failed conventional therapeutics that they're looking for an alternative therapy that might deal with some of these symptoms. And so we do implement some therapies, complementary and alternative therapies they're called, and the Texas Medical Board has a rule in the Texas Medical Statute that allows for this complementary and alternative medicine. And that could be anything from vitamin drips intravenously, ozone therapy, ultraviolet blood irradiation, various other modalities, platelet-rich plasma, stem cells, stuff like that. So there are a number of complementary and alternative modalities that can help treat symptoms of inflammation and also try to deal with the acute symptom or disease process at hand.
Dr. Ben, talk to me about the uniqueness of Veritas' 4 pillars and which pillar is the most important.
Okay, so early on, as I moved out of conventional medicine, I really felt like the Lord was pressing on my heart to really teach 4 things: nutrition, eat like your ancestors, basically; hydration, get clean, mineralized, structured water; movement, not necessarily just go to the gym at the end of the day and exercise, but move throughout the day. So nutrition, hydration, and movement. I mean, these are obvious key pillars to health and wellness. And then the 4th pillar of peace, as opposed to stress, fear, anxiety, stress, fight or flight mode. So those are the 4 pillars of health. We feel like if people can understand those, so we teach on those, try to help people connect the dots on why these are important. and then give them advice on how to modify their diet and their lifestyle in those 4 areas. I've often said, though, it really is 3 pillars, with the 4th is the foundation. So the peace pillar, by far and away, hands down, no questions asked. If you're in fight or flight mode all day long, or most hours of the day, or most days of the week, that fight or flight mode is not compatible with long-term health. I don't believe you can eat your way, supplement your way, exercise your way, or hydrate your way to complete health and wellness. You can get a lot done by doing those 3 things, but if you don't address that foundational peace pillar, you'll get sick again, or you won't fully resolve your symptoms. So peace is huge. And we can talk about them in terms of just physically. The autonomic nervous system is divided. It runs in either one of 2 modes, sympathetic or parasympathetic. And sympathetic is the fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest, or peace. And that's the 2 options. And your body can be predominantly one or the other. It's good to go back and forth, actually. We need a little bit of stress and fight or flight at times, but it doesn't need to dominate. Because when it dominates, there's 3 main systems the body will conserve or shut down to shunt energy to the systems that'll help you save your life. So imagine if you're walking down the trail and a tiger jumps across the path, you're going to flip into fight or flight sympathetic for a few minutes so you can kill the tiger or run away from him. But in a few minutes it's done, and you flip back to parasympathetic, rest and digest. So in that few minutes, the systems that shut down are the digestive system, because you don't need to worry about digesting your last meal when you need to kill a tiger. The hormone system, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, all the different hormones that just kind of maintain homeostasis in the body, that gets turned way down or shunted to the hormones that are fight or flight, like cortisol and adrenaline. And the 3rd system is the immune system. So your immune system really gets hampered or turned down on purpose, because you don't need to spend energy trying to kill germs when you need to spend all your energy fighting the tiger for 5 minutes. So for a few minutes, that's okay. Turn down those 3 systems. But to have those systems turned down chronically, day after day after day, especially for many months and years, then we will run into symptoms or diseases of those systems. And that's probably the top 3 diseases we see in our clinic, or symptoms that walk in, have to do with the digestive system, the immune system, and the hormone system. So we cannot be in chronic fight or flight mode. So this is why the peace pillar is so important. You cannot eat, exercise, and hydrate yourself out of the detrimental consequences of long-term fight or flight mode.
Dr. Ben, would you name some modalities of peace for me, things that we can really cling to that will give us that peace?
So a lot of people kind of understand that stress is not good and stress is not healthy. So they'll implement stress relief techniques, which is fine. You can, go on a walk. You can do some meditation. You can do some deep breathing exercises, stretching and exercise, and sing Kumbaya and do different things. And I'm not trying to minimize those things. They're fine. They're good. Even just looking, I'm looking outside my window at some green trees right now, visualizing green space. They've done a study on this, multiple studies actually, that show if you even look at a green space, it can lower your cortisol, lower that fight or flight hormone. And definitely getting out into the green space and sunshine and listening to the birds sing, and to have your feet grounded to the earth, and all kinds of different things that definitely are beneficial. So I'm not opposed to any of those. But what happens when you get right back into your daily routine? You come back into the office from your 5-minute stress relief break, you're back into your fight or flight mode, potentially. So ultimately, as you go down this road and really press into complete wellness, I think what people start to understand over time is they can't just implement stress relief techniques. They're fine to do, but we need to go deeper. And deeper, in my opinion, is more of a spiritual issue, because really, if you think about what drives fight or flight, it's our thinking. So circumstances pop up in our life, and that can be, you had an argument with your spouse, or you got a letter in the mail from the IRS that freaked you out, or your boss yelled at you, or you turn on the TV and watch anything. I mean, these circumstances are happening and coming at us all the time. So how do we view these circumstances? What goggles are we wearing? What lenses are on our mind that we interpret these things from? And so really it's a matter of your worldview, and deeper than that, your spiritual point of view, I believe. And as a believer in Jesus, And the Bible is the book of truth, and it talks about, all things work for the benefit of those who love him. So all these bad things, even cancer, these bad things somehow can actually be for our good. And that's kind of hard to wrestle with, especially if you're not a believer. It's very difficult to wrestle with that, probably impossible. But even as a believer, it can be very difficult. But I truly believe it's our goggles, it's our belief system. Bruce Lipton talks about false beliefs that people have. And he talks about in that book, Biology of Belief, how these thoughts can affect genetic expression. Caroline Leaf, in her book, Switch On Your Brain, talks about the DNA, that double helix, will tighten up if you have thoughts of unforgiveness and bitterness and anger, versus that double helix DNA will relax when you have thoughts of peace and joy and forgiveness and stuff like that. So it does actually physically affect the genetic expression. And most integrative doctors I've spoken with over the years, in terms of talking about treating cancer, they all come down to the same point of, with cancer in particular, if you can't get a patient to get down there in the spiritual realm and wrestle with these things, bitterness and anger and unforgiveness and other, whatever thoughts like that, it's very, very difficult for them to heal all the way. So to answer your question, really it's a spiritual journey, and it's an individualized spiritual journey. I believe seeking the truth out, and it's the truth that you put those goggles of truth on, and then you can analyze these circumstances through God's point of view, and it will be good, and you'll be at peace despite your circumstances.
I really appreciate that. Worldview Wellness and Veritas has partnered together to address complex terrain issues, mitochondria dysfunction, and cancer in our clients and your patients. And would you tell me a little bit about what that looks like from Veritas standpoint?
Yeah, so from our standpoint, cancer's always been there. It's growing and growing every year. I've always had a burden for those patients, but also haven't had the time to just dedicate solely. And I think you kind of need to do that if you're going to really attack cancer as a practitioner. And I just never got released to dedicate my entire professional life to cancer. What Worldview Wellness is doing and what Micah Jackson has done with his extra training that he's done with Dr. Nasha Winter's network, he's able to dedicate that time. So I was super excited when Micah came to me and told me this is where he was feeling led to go, to really dedicate the time and the energy and the effort, and because it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to study these cases and to keep up with the literature and to communicate with colleagues that are on the cutting edge of all the different therapies out there. So Micah choosing to dedicate that time, I was super excited about that. So as far as how that looks with Veritas, obviously we're a medical clinic practicing under the rules and the authority of the Texas Medical Board. And there are definitely things we can do under that authority. But then oftentimes cancer patients desire other modalities that maybe we don't offer, can't offer, or don't have the knowledge about. So getting a consultation from somebody who is in tune with all the different modalities around the country and even around the world. I remember talking with Dr. Winters in some of our conversations prior to Micah taking on this great task. And she would talk about therapies in Canada or in Germany or wherever. It didn't matter where it was. So that is, one of the benefits of working with Worldview Wellness and Micah is that we can rely on him to stay abreast of these things. And then things that we can do here in America and in our clinic, as far as things that need a medical order, we can do that. So it's a good partnership where the patient can get 100% of the focus from Micah on the cancer, and then we can come alongside and offer some complementary and alternative things that again are legal here in the United States to offer.